Hello and welcome to the Vocal Podcast. My name is Shannon and thank you for tuning in. Last week I talked to you guys about veganism. I had a guest called Alex on here and we talked about being vegan, our hopes about veganism and why we think it's such like a taboo topic. If you guys are interested in that, please, I urge you to go check it out. It's really cool. He's a pretty cool dude. And this week, I'm going to talk to you guys about the psychology and the philosophy of fear. So hope you enjoy. Please comment. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree. And, you know, I love the argument. I love all of that. So just any comments you have, I will reply and, you know, pop up to me on Instagram, whatever. So cool. I'm just going to jump right in there. So the definition of fear is that it's an emotion that is caused by danger, threat, or harm. That's the more straightforward approach. But obviously fear looks different in people. Different people have different fears. Even animals have fear, but it looks different to ours. So there is a lot deeper understanding to what fear is when you look at it in terms of people. The best way that I heard fear being described was by a guy on YouTube. His name was Sadhguru. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but I attached a video underneath. But to sum it up, pretty much, he explained that fear is an imagination. Fear isn't actually a real thing that you can hold or that you can possess, but it's something that you make up. So when I say something that you make up, for example, if someone has a fear of a spider, you might not fear the spider itself, but you might fear what that spider might do. You don't fear death itself. You have a fear of dying or what death might do. It's the action of what you think might happen. So then he goes on to kind of say that, like, why do we subscribe to that kind of horror film? Instead of imagining that the spider would bite you, why would you not manifest that the spider will just kind of walk by or do its own thing? So maybe that's not the most accurate description because spiders can actually be quite poisonous and stuff like that. But the main idea is that fears, you know, irrational fears can in fact be changed and reinvented with the same imagination that you use to create that fear. So irrational fear can be made into nothing with the right kind of thinking. There was a psychological study done in 1939, right at the end of World War II in Iowa, in America, and it was called the Monster Study. They called it the Monster Study because it was so immoral. You know, in 2007, the participants that were still alive got $500,000 in compensation because of how bad the psychological effects were. The idea was that they decided to see if they could teach kids to stop stuttering. There were 22 orphans that were placed into an experiment, and they were told that would be entering to speech therapy to help them to stop stuttering, right? The aim of the experiment was to find the best method to train children and seeing how what kind of enforcement would kind of help. Was it to induce fear or was it to induce kind of, you know, nurturing and caring? So the orphans were put into two categories, those that did stutter and those that didn't. The half that did stutter were told, you'll outgrow the stuttering, you'll be able to speak much better than you're speaking now, and pay no attention to what others say about you and your speaking ability. You know, they don't realise this is just a phase. And for those that didn't stutter, she told them that the staff has come to the conclusion that you have a huge problem with your speech. You must stop immediately. You have to use your willpower not to stutter. Don't even speak unless you can do it correctly. She even went as far to point out other children that stuttered and told them not to act like them, basically. So comparing as well. So the study lasted for 6 months and each child was spoken to every 3 weeks for about 45 minutes. So that's 45 minutes of conditioning them how to think about their speech impediment, basically. 45 minutes every few weeks for 6 months. That's a lot of conditioning right there. So the children that did stutter reacted immediately and very quickly. They began to improve. One of the participants just went to speak normal, just like within a month of speech therapy. Whereas the children that never stuttered got really difficult, had great difficulty. One refused to even talk completely and she became really conscious of herself. There was a case where she would like keep clicking her fingers, right? When she was asked why she was clicking her fingers, she said, oh, well, I felt like I was going to make a sound, like a. And that was why she was clicking her fingers. So she had actually created like this tick almost to kind of defend herself. Not one of the students that got negative feedback did as well academically. So it basically messed them up for life, because if it's affecting your school, it's going to affect your getting a job, it's going to like narrow your opportunities. So it was concluded, right? They just said, oh, the students are probably going to recover, but there was no follow-up to the experiment. They just said, they'll be fine. Obviously, it didn't happen, and a lot of students were left with serious anxiety issues and stuff like that. So what's the point of this study, right? So the study kind of showed how malleable the mind is, that a few words, a few manifestations can cause us to live in fear or live without. Do you know what I mean? It showed the power of fear and what it can induce in someone. The power of the imagination is very strong, and it can have long-lasting effects. So it's important to look at the willpower to fight something that can cause or can be used to propel someone. You know, it doesn't have to be always crippling. In psychology, they talk about the inferiority and superiority complex, which was discussed by a psychologist called Alfred Adler. And he disagreed with a lot of Freud's views that because Freud said that basically behavior was basically shaped by biological factors. But what Adler said is that toxic behaviors, it stemmed from the inferiority and the superiority complex. So an inferiority complex is a manifested fear. It's the idea that the feeling of inferiority is intensified through discouragement or failure. So you have a constant need to prove yourself or to prove that you were good enough, because you have that internalized feeling that you were not good enough. And when you combine the feelings of inferiority and the experiment together, you can see that the best way to do this is by combating fear and putting in positive reinforcement. In this experiment, we kind of saw that, you know, their teachers, the people in the experiment were giving them this feedback. But when you don't have somebody watching you, it's important to do that for yourself, forcing your imagination to imagine the scenario as something better than what you've imagined it to be. In one of my previous episodes, I think it was 1.2, I talk about being authentic and what it means to be authentic. You know, in order to be authentic, you can't really be authentic without facing fear. You know, you have to not give a damn about what these external voices say, and you have to find your own voice. You know, and some of the voices can get skewed because they're internalized with your inferiority, what you think your voice is telling you to do, you know, telling you you're not good enough, things like that. So being authentic in itself is being brave enough to stand up to those voices. You know, you're not allowed to, you shouldn't allow those doubts to overcome you. It's having courage to realize that you deserve more. I also kind of talked to you guys about Diogenes. I don't know if you kind of remember that dude, but he was a philosopher, right? He lived in a pot. He was really rich, and he decided, like, let me just give up my lifestyle. One day he was like, he went to woods. He had like a cup, or like the version of a cup that was around back then. And he was like, yeah, dude, I'm just gonna go live in the forest now. Found a really huge pot. Was like, I'm just gonna live in here. And he became one of the most famous men of his time, because nobody was doing that. Nobody was saying, listen, I'm choosing to be homeless, you know. And he had so much freedom that there was a guy called Alexander the Great. He was the ruler at the time, and he talked to him, and, you know, he said, I want to talk to you, talk to me. And Diogenes said, no, go away. You know, he had absolute freedom. You know, Alexander the Great had no control over him. Nobody did. He could have that thing to say, I don't want to talk to you today. I don't have to, you know. And real courage is saying that you don't care about what other people think and being authentic. So some may say maybe the idea is to be fearless, right? To not have any fears at all. There's a really famous philosopher. His name is Alan Watts. He's really cool. I would recommend you watching that. I'm also putting that in the link below. But he kind of said that being fearless is not necessarily a strength. Being fearless doesn't really exist, because without fear, you wouldn't have the need to do a lot of things, right? Fear unfaced, though, can be consuming. And those that are wrapped up in their own fears, it can kind of stop you from doing the things that you want to do. So Alan Watts kind of said that fear is needed, right? There would be no courage without fear. There would be no need for it. And some of the best decisions we make come towards fear. You know, our move towards greener technology, animal conversation, research, science, philosophy comes from the fear of not knowing, or the fear of, you know, a bad future. So, you know, none of these things would exist without fear itself. So the main thing is trying to figure out what is your relationship with fear. The best way is to understand that fear is an emotion, right? And the best way to combat that is through self-actualization and understanding that you are in control of your emotions. Your emotions and your thoughts are not in control of you. Going all the way back, you know, I keep talking about imagination. So you are in control of what you want to imagine, right? And once you realize that, it's very important. I personally found that when I meditate and when I take some time out to reflect on myself, I find that I can then feel what I'm feeling at the time. And once you meditate and realize that you can look at your emotions outside of yourself, you can become more aware of when you are feeling fear and why. I'm going to end this podcast with a little bit of guided meditation. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's something different, but it's always nice to just take some time out of your day and to just relax, really. Sometimes we're always moving, we're always rushing, or we're, you know, so not doing anything, so stagnant or stuck that we forget to pause and to listen to our bodies and what we are actually doing. So I hope you enjoy. So when you're ready, just get into a nice place, a nice comfortable position, whether that's lying down, sitting down, or just wherever you feel comfortable. When you feel settled, close your eyes or soften your gaze and tune into your breath. Notice the natural rhythm of your breath without trying to change it. Notice your body, if you feel tense or relaxed, without trying to change that either. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Continue to take deep, full breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. As you breathe, become aware of the state of your body and the quality of your mind. And I want you to notice that still point in between an exhale and an inhale. And I want you to slowly put your attention back into your body. I want you to be aware of your body. Imagine a light is coming over you from the tip of your head to the tip of your toes. And I want you to imagine that light is starting at the tip of your head, slowly going down past your forehead, down past your eyebrows, all the way over your ears and your eyes and your nose. And as the light passes, I want you to be aware of your body, the tensions, the relaxed places. Just notice it. Don't try and control it or make it less tense. Just feel it. Just be aware. And I want you to feel the light going down past your mouth, your chin, all the way down to your neck, down to your shoulders. Just feel your body. Be aware of your arms, your fingers, your palms. Feel the light going over your back, all the way down your torso as well, your chest, down past your stomach, to your hips. Remember being aware and just feeling all the tensions and the relaxed parts of your body, all the way down past your thighs, feeling every inch of your muscles, down over your knees, your calves, all the way down to your feet, to the tips of your toes. And when you're done, I want you to bring the attention back to your breath. That inhale and that exhale. And just relax. And your mind may wander. And you may start thinking about other things. But when you do, I want you to note it. I want you to touch these thoughts like a feather on a balloon. And I want you to bring that attention back to your breathing. It's okay that you have thoughts, it's fine. But just focus on your breath. That rest point in between the inhale and the exhale. And imagine you're in a cinema and your thoughts are just going right past you on a screen. And it's okay. You don't need to control them. They're there and you watch them go past. And then you go back and you focus on your breath. And just practice that for a couple of seconds. And when you're ready, slowly bring your attention back to your body. Open your eyes. And you're done. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning into the Vocal Podcast. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Let me know what you think of this episode. Let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions for any more episodes or anything else you want me to talk about, any cool topics, I'll be happy to do that. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next time. I hope you guys have a good evening.